Welcome back to the channel, this is Scott. In 2021, there were many highly anticipated keyboard launches, and this was one of them, the Keychron Q1. And for good reason too. For $169 for the fully assembled, or $149 for the bare bones kit, people quickly realized that the Q1 punched way above its weight class when it came down to typing feel and sound. And this, it wasn't perfect out of the box. It required a little bit of modifications, but when you got it right, man, was it right. Today, we have this, the Keychron Q2. It's essentially the Q1's little brother. It's a 65%, and yes, it's smaller, but is that it? Or, in the 6 months of time that Keychron had, did they make a better keyboard out of the Q2 from the Q1? That's what we're going to find out today. Let's get started.
So this is my Q2. After some tinkering, this is the final form in terms of looks as well as typing sound and feel. This is how my Q2 flexes, and this is how it actually sounds. Like the Q1 before it, a well-tuned Q2 types and sounds beautifully, but unlike the Q1, the Q2, it comes pretty polished and good to go out of the box. Let's explore that a bit, shall we? The box is a nice and simple design with an outline of the Q2 and its key map drawn out. In addition, the format I have here is a knob version, as listed in a square box as you see right here. Behind the box, you can see some major features of the Q2 listed out, like its 65% layout, PC and Mac compatibility, QMK and VIA compatibility, the gasket mounting structure, screw and stab compatibility, CNC aluminum body, and foam. Finally, you can see the 3 different color options you can get with the Q2, which includes the black, the gray, and the blue that I have right here. So, what's inside this box? Keychron included some basic tools like the keycap puller, the switch puller, an Allen key, and screwdriver, all things that allows you to open up the Q2. It also includes a simple USB cable, no coiled aviator this time, and some hardware and extra gaskets also. And of course, you get the Keychron Q2. Mine is this striking navy blue, one of the most vibrant blues I have seen. It actually reminds me of the Montego blue metallic that BMW uses on their cars. Overall, the Q2 is a 65% layout gasket mounted keyboard with a CNC aluminum case and a black painted steel plate. That's right, this time around, Keychron decided to use a steel plate versus an aluminum in the Q1 for extra heft. It doesn't feel that much different because of the flexible gasket mount. Speaking of flexible, check this out. Yup, like the Q1 before it, it definitely has that bounce. And finally, this is the knob version, so it has a nice little knob on the upper right hand corner. It's removable, and you can see also that it's made of aluminum as well. Bottom of the case is plain and simple, and the anodization was perfect. Very metallic, but perfect regardless. So, remember what I said about this thing being pretty good out of the box? What happens if you buy it as a fully assembled unit with some Gateron red switches and some Keychron ABS caps? Well, it will look like this. It's not too bad, OEM profile caps and all, but it's still pretty clean. What about the sound? This is essentially how the Q1 came out of the box, so here's a quick sound sample of how the Q2 is out of the box with stock components. You know, overall, it's a bit hollow and the Keychron ABS caps aren't the best, but it's not a bad keyboard. Remember the Q1? It has some crazy pinging out of the box? Yeah, the Q2 doesn't really have that. But from what I know, the Q2 actually has a thicker lower case that helps to control that metallic ringing that its older brother suffered from. The Q2 also has a new proprietary screw and stab that Keychron has developed rather than the Gateron version the original Q1 came with. It's actually not too bad, even just out of the box. But what if we did something that most people buying this board may actually try? Keep everything stock but upgrade the switches and caps. That's exactly what this is right here. I used some lubed and filmed Gateron cap yellows and some Akko PBT caps to see how it fares. I think this is a fantastic looking combination with this nice and striking blue case. So let's also check out how it sounds. You know, that is not half bad. The cap yellows have a nice and poppy sound, and the thick PBT caps eliminate the chatter you heard from the thin Keychron ABS caps. I think most people might actually be satisfied with this. But for me, nah, I want it perfect. And that is what we're going to try to achieve. But before we tear this down to upgrade, a quick word from our sponsor, Keeps for All. Keeps for All is a Los Angeles-based keyboard and keyboard components company that is in fact one of the first of its kind to be woman-owned. The keyboard and its owner is focused on creating easy access and low cost to high value keyboards and catering to the enthusiasts and beginners alike in this unique market. As you can see from some of their in-house keyboard offerings like the Freebird 60 and the Freebird TKL, which I have done reviews on, they are dedicated to delivering great products at affordable prices and no compromises to quality. The site offers everything you need from keycaps to switches to accessories and many doggy themed desk mats and wares, and pretty much everything else in between. Plus, the approach they take to the serious keyboard market is fun and accessible. Who doesn't like a carrot switch made to look like an actual carrot, right? I have had nothing but great experiences dealing with Keeps for All, and Candice the owner has been just a great person to work with. You can always find her and her team on Keeps for All Discord, and they have always been a great support and someone to chat with about keyboards. I am an affiliate, so remember to use code KEYBOARD and you get 5% off on every purchase from Keeps for All. Check them out in the description below. Alright, once you remove the 8 screws below, you can lift up the upper case and the plate on the PCB assembly by lifting up and out. Then you can see what's below in the lower case. Yup, very similar to how the Q1 was. A very thin piece of foam. But you know what's interesting? This foam is probably thinner than even the original Q1s. It's see-through. However, under it is this weird plastic sheeting. I'm not really sure what it does. Once you lift that out, you can see the lower case and how much chunkier this is versus the Q1, hence less case ping. Another interesting thing you'll notice is how they drilled holes in each corner. Usually flat surfaces have a tendency to resonate force easier. You can help break this by adding in obstructions or in this case, or drill holes. If you recall my Akko mod review, the mod 003 had a similar concept as well and it does work. Another reason why the Q2 case is less pingy. The case also has cutouts for the cables to sit in, which is a nice clean touch. Similar to the Q1, the plate and the PCB cannot be separated from the upper case without removing the small daughter board here. Once you have the plate out, you can see the guide pins in the upper case, similar to the Q1 once again. However, the guide pins on the Q1 was kind of like shrink wrapped, but these are actual plastic caps in the Q2, so another evolution. As discussed before, the plate is a painted steel plate, so more heft and a little bit stiffer. Underneath the plate, you can see the included plate foam as well. Here is a better look at the Keychron screw-in stabilizers as well, so it's a very green design. As mentioned earlier, the Q2, like its predecessor, is fully QMK and VIA compatible out of the box, which I was able to confirm. One thing that I really do like what Keychron did was putting the reset switch in an accessible spot on top without having to disassemble the whole entire case. This is really nice for QMK programming. The PCB is nice and simple with south-facing orientation and per key RGB. Flip it over, you can see the Gateron hot swap sockets below as well. However, the rotary knob is actually soldered on. I like discovering little Easter eggs like this. This is a little blurb from Keychron about its Q2. Nice. Alright, let's get to modding. So what did I do for this Q2? Well, we start with the case. I want to remove that thin foam and use something more substantial but also very thin. So I'm going to grab my 50mm Kilmat. Let me show you what this thing can do. However, to make sure I maximize the room for the keyboard to flex into, I used a roller to flatten the Kilmat even more. It's pretty simple and easy to do. Then I took a look at the upper case and I did my force break mod. In certain cases, especially for the Q1, the metallic sounds were exacerbated by how the upper case resonated. Adding a double layer masking tape squares by the screw points helps to create a break between the lower and the upper case and dramatically reduces this transfer of energy and hence it reduces the ping. Alright, moving on to the PCB. I heard really good things about the Owl Labs Owl Stabs, so I decided to try these out. You know, these are fantastic. Why? Because you don't need to Holy mount them. They just kind of work really great with just Krytox 205. I made sure to stock up on these actually before this video in case y'all jump on them and they're sold out. Well, also, I added one layer of masking tape under the PCB. Think of this as a modifier that shapes the characteristics of the board. If you like what it does, use it. If you don't, you don't have to. I'm using it because I want to shape the board to my liking specifically. Now, something different. Not using PE foam this time like I did with the Q1. I am using this. A paper towel? What? A member on my Discord let me know that oddly the paper towel adds some pop to the Switch without making it sound like a jelly. But you know what? It really does. Nothing crazy or dramatic, but it adds a little bit of shape to the sound to this board, so a nice little touch here. Finally, I put everything together and decided to go with the Gateron Box Ink Blacks for this build. I wanted that deeper sound to work with this board to achieve a certain result. I wanted it to be lively, but not quite lively like my Q1, and be unique in its own way. Then I threw on some GMK Hammerhead, which I think looks fantastic on this board. And now, check it out. My version of the ultimate Q2 for me. Even with all these mods, the thinness of the Kilmat preserves the flex and the bounce of the Q2. And as you have heard earlier, I think this sounds fantastic. Here is the full clip. Before my final thoughts, one thing that irks me, it's hard to get the right caps for these two little switches. Nothing really works right. So that is my Q2. Between the Q1 and the Q2, I have a set of Keychron brothers that are both great to type on but sound and feel different from each other. My intent was never to make the Q2 the same as my Q1, and I don't think it's even possible because they're actually different from each other. Like brothers, they share similarities but won't exactly be the same. Given all this, what is my final thought on the Q2? The Q2 is an evolution. It's nothing drastically different from the original Q1, nor is it the exact same, but just in a smaller size. In the 6 months, Keychron really did take what they learned from the Q1 and made sure the Q2 is a more refined board. Biggest difference is that the Q2's usability out of the box is actually better. As you have heard, this is a board that will work great stock. Just throw on your favorite switches and keycaps and you're pretty much good to go. But if you're like me and you want to push it to the max, you sure can do that too. Before I leave you, I know the burning question here that I need to answer. So, the Q1 or the Q2, which one is a better board? Honestly, they are equal in terms of standing, but they are also very different, so pick what you like. The Q1 has a more airy and open sound. The Q2 sounds and also feels more solid and dense. The Q1 has more flex than the Q2, probably the thinner case. And finally, the Q2 feels slightly better constructed than the Q1. So, I don't know. In my opinion, the Q2 is also the better looking brother, but I kinda like 65%. So, take your pick. What matters to you more will be what you will ultimately choose. Thanks.